Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Death by Pony, or welcome to the channel if you're new here. Today we're finally hopping into some Derek DLC. It's gonna be his epilogue scene basically. The game goes in 4 parts, and normally part 4 is an epilogue for the main story. But now, because we have the DLC, it's like this whole other section. I went into it thinking it was gonna be like half an hour, 45 minutes, like the first one was. No, I sat here and played for 8 hours that day, and I was not prepared for it, but I did it anyway. So without further ado, let's hop into this. I, there's no real way to skip it. Thank you for playing. Choose an epilogue. Here you can choose which epilogue to play. Note you can only play one, and then the game will end. Enjoy. Okay, so I've played the Cove ending where we're one sec. Okay. So I've played the Cove ending where we get married and things, like we're friends and everything. We haven't played the Derek ending. So we're gonna play the Derek ending, and then I'll probably go back and play the Cove ending. But I'll probably make that its separate video. So let's go to Derek. In between. Okay. So uh we're not a teenager anymore. Square out a little. Eyes fine. Hair. We're gonna half shaved, shaved, pulled back, smooth, choppy, curled, flowy, short, medium, smooth, choppy, long. Mm, we'll go with that. That's fine. Change the page. Rose cheeks fine. Freckle. We'll get rid of the acne. We're an adult now. You know. I'll change the page. Birthmarks, no. Scars, we got that. Freckles, clothing type, pants and shirts, accessories. Yeah, we don't need braces at this point. I have arm tattoos. Um, no, that's fine. Ring, jewelry, pattern, plain. And we'll go done. So we're gonna remain direct. So give me one sec. I only do this because I have to know if I need to. Okay. So my achievements. Teenage friendship, start playing Civ 2, fully grown friendship. Okay. So what I have left is friendship ones, and they're for step 2 and step 3, and one of my own playthrough things. So what I'm gonna do, because we've known Cove so long, we're gonna be fond of Cove. Yes. We're gonna let it choose how Cove looks. So we're gonna be with Derek. We're gonna be direct and in love. Okay. This is where we were at. Was Derek's initiative for step 4? I like somebody with high initiative. I'm shy. And so your days growing up in the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end. In the years that passed since graduation, you moved out of your childhood home and made your own way in the world. You lived alone, lived with pets, lived with Cove and his fish, Live with Cove, his fish, and your pet you picked. Live with Cove and his fish and the pets you picked. Hmm. We're gonna live with Cove. Just because we've known him for so long. And you worked at a fine company, had your business of your own, co-owned a business with Cove, had multiple ways of earning income, still focused in pursuit of education. Co-own a business with Cove in the writing, TV, sporting, gaming, hospitality, gaming. Your family members went through the same kind of leaps into independent. Liz and Lee both eventually earned degrees and started a fantastic career in the new towns. But your mom's and Co's father still lived on the same street they had for all those years before. It was comforting too that there were still some things that remained in the old neighborhood. Despite the ever changing reality of your own adult life, your friends were still your friends, though of course things weren't exactly the same for them either. Very recently, Terry publicly came out as a man and switched the spelling of his name to use a Y instead of an I. He also confessed his love for Miranda, which she excitedly reciprocated. They moved in together recently in city out past Sunset Bird. One person who didn't disappear into the shuffles of memories inside your mind was Baxter. After his vacation in Sunset Bird one year, he was just gone. Oh, he did. That was a loss you felt. He had become someone you considered a friend during those days. And then there was what became of the sad little boy you grew up with, Holden Cove. Cove Holden. Damn. Somehow, despite all the odds, it was leaving the streets that kept you together for so long that finally brought you closer. He went from being simply a neighbor to a genuine friend. He had truly thrived in his continued efforts to cultivate loving and supportive relationships with his family and friends. You couldn't say his personality had changed exactly. Instead, it became more refined. Cove was a warm, inviting, considerate man who took the lesson he had learned over the years to treat people around him with patience and understanding. When Cove eventually developed a picture of the future he wanted to have as an adult, it ended up being surprisingly to most based on his past interests. Cove decided against pursuing a degree and focused fully on building up a career. He worked with you in your shared business, naturally teaching surf lessons on the side, and he still volunteered with Orca when his work allowed it. As an adult, Cove also was able to recognize and have diagnosed he was on the autism spectrum. It was something that hadn't been noticed by his doctors as a child, but he was still the same Cove he always was to you, and he was just glad to understand himself a little better. It thrilled you to see how happy and successful he'd grown up to be. Growth had changed. Growth and change came for the Suarez family as well. Miss Suarez continued to run scuba shop with Mr. Holden, but that was absolutely the only constant that remained. They moved to a new condo in Prism Vista City as their three boys got older and the nest began to empty. Baby of the family, Nicholas, was eventually the only one left at home. George went off to a local college, staying in the dorms, and there was the eldest son, Derek Suarez. He left the area years ago to attend an out-of-state college on a sports scholarship. You kept in touch with him during those days, as you had in the past. Derek had since graduated. You were sure he would have success in whatever he pursued. The long-term direction of his career going forward was ambiguous to you, but there was still news Derek had been able to share. He was returning to the city where he grew up in, and as always, Derek had a plan. As the foggy and scratchy glass doors of the bus swung open with a gasp of air, allowing you and the rest of the passengers to disembark at your destination, you stepped from the massive vehicle into Prism Vista City bus station. Crowds of travelers and bustled across the concrete floor. A constant stream of strangers came from the hallways, shuttles, and other buses. The station was absolutely packed. It was vacation season. Summer had only just begun, but the California heat was already immense. You'd be lucky if even a single day of your much anticipated trip was under 90 degrees. Arriving was still a great relief. Steaming in the humidity bus station was definitely preferable to baking inside the metal walls of the bus itself. It was a fairly short ride over, but still, you had plenty of that already on the long ride over here. You already had to take a plane too. The bus was simply the last leg of the trip. It was a short ride over, but still, you didn't take your own car because it would have been even more inconvenient. It was too far away for you to drive. There was no way around the bus ride. You didn't own a car and couldn't drive places yourself. You didn't take your own car because it would have been more inconvenient. You'd spent your time with Derek. He had his own car. Going in two vehicles would only make getting around harder, especially in the traffic-heavy city. It was best to save your car the miles. One of your sweaty hands kept a slippery grip on the handle of your rolling suitcase. It was a well-worn piece, frayed at the edges, and with an annoyingly loose wheel on the left side that dared you to try and keep it moving in a straight line. You had had it since you moved out of your mom's house, and now it was returning with you, at least to the general area, since you wouldn't be staying in Sunset Bird. Your accommodations were in the city. All you had to do was inform your old friend Derek that you were ready to be picked up. So, in your other hand, you unlocked the phone and the contact screen it up, selected Derek's name, and saw the last thought he had sent you and texted him a quick message. Good luck on your trip. Let me know when you come by. I'll be ready for you. I'm here. I've arrived. Guess who survived the trip? Here, Derek, I'm in town now. Guess who survived the trip? Me. You skidded closer to the wall, positioning yourself out of the path, but in a place still easily visible. It took only a minute to get situated, and your phone was already buzzing with response. Coming. You cracked a smile. The screen is your cell phone, the brief message that lit up. Then you put it away. He'd be there soon. There wasn't much else to do besides watch the tide of people go by, and think. Recollections of how you ended up in the spot came to mind. The two of you had constantly kept in touch. He knew what was happening with you and you with him. For the past months, the catch-up calls, texts you had with Derek included updates on his process of moving. He decided to head back to the city, at least temporarily, to help his dad with his business and work some things out for himself for his own future career prospects. Derek kept you in the loop with his house hunting, logistics, victories, and the setbacks in making major life transition. It all came together less than a month ago. The Suarez family was naturally thrilled to have him there. George already lived near, only 40 minutes away, and Nicholas was still at home, so the whole team could be together again. The biggest brother was just happy to return on his old stomping grounds after all the years being away, but it wasn't a familiar location only for him. Sunset Bird was the next town over. He knew that. Derek's deep voice played inside your head. The animated way he spoke through the phone a few weeks ago was fresh in your memory. He talked about how he'd made his new apartment with extra room, and that you should totally come to stay for a while. Be able to visit his brothers and his parents and your own parents in your childhood neighborhood, and you'd get to see him too. Finding a hotel in the area was always the biggest problem coming back home. You had to appreciate the unique opportunity Derek had provided. Though even if he had lived on the opposite end of the country, you would have tried to make it. He meant more to you than just a couch you could crash on. Seeing Derek was your main priority of the trip. You both worked it out so you could be there. Unfortunately, the other good pal from your youth couldn't make it, Cove Holden. He pouted a little about not getting to see Derek or return to Sunset Bird with you, but he recovered, especially because he would be coming later that very summer. He simply wasn't able to do it twice in one season. You'd be with Cove then, and Derek would still be in town too. This time, though, would be bonding time for you and Derek. You were looking forward to the trip as much as you knew Derek was. It was going to be an amazing time, you were certain. The whole thing was nerve-wracking, but you didn't want to miss the chance. It had been a long time since you'd been together in person. You'd wonder what he'd think. It had been a long time since you'd been together in person. You worried what he'd think. You'd changed over the years, but you hoped Derek would stay close. You were looking forward to the trip as much as you knew Derek was. You could already imagine just his bright face grinning at you. Those idle thoughts led you idly checking the time on your phone. It had only been about 5 minutes since you sent the text. You put your phone away yet again. It was the grand tradition of being in a bus station, waiting somewhere, checking the time, and looking around. You went back to the third step. Though the spacious area, there were plenty of other travelers repeating the exact same process to you. Other than that, the people filling the space, the scene was virtually unchanged since the first time you'd seen it. You easily recalled the exact day that was, Father's Day, when you were 13. Derek had been so thoughtful inviting you over to his house so you wouldn't feel lonely for the holiday. He didn't make you go through any of it on your own. It wouldn't be much longer until he was by your side again. Just thinking about it lightened your spirits. And then, over the murmurs of bustling crowd echoing upbeat pound through the air, it was the sound of rapid footsteps against the solid train station floor, Pushing off from the wall, you scanned the crowd for the source. It didn't take a spy champion to notice the man in bright, sleeveless sweatshirt sprinting towards the bus landing area like he was about to miss the last ride of the day. But he didn't have a map, bags, or a ticket in hand. He wasn't there to go anywhere else. He had somebody to see, and that was you. Derek had made it. Ugh! Look at this man! Look at him. So strong. Look at those arms, so muscular, so dreamy. I don't... Okay, you have to keep in mind, he actually looks a lot like my actual boyfriend in terms of his build. My boyfriend is very lanky, has very toned arms, a very nice jawline, hair's a little different, but looks very similar in just build to my boyfriend. So, like, this is the ideal man. He nearly he neared the drop-off spot while tilting his head when his gaze fell on you over the sides. His mad dash abruptly came to a stop. Derek was a solid rock in the middle of a slow-moving river of unfamiliar faces. He'd grown so much. The sparkling grin broke through the stillness. That part of him hadn't changed. 10 years older, but with just as much boyish charm as ever. You walked over to meet him. You ran towards him. You rushed to Derek and jumped into his arms. You rooted in place. You stayed out of the way. We will run to this man. With your suitcase rattling behind you, you pushed through the crowd. Derek turned on his heels to change the trajectory of his path. He took bounding strides to close the rest of the distance between you and him. The moment you were upon each other, you abandoned the bag and left it there. Whoa! He caught you and held you with the expertise of someone who had years of practice with a clingy little brother. Though the way he pressed snugly against you wasn't all the same kind of embrace he would give to Nicholas. You hugged him back tightly, taking his physical presence for the first time in ages. It was a wonderful start to the reunion. Then he set your feet safely back on the ground.
It's been a while, huh?
Ugh! His voice is very deep. I don't know how well you can hear it. I will turn the volume up probably a little more, just so you can hear him talk. It was very deep. Sup, Ari? It's been a while, huh? With the man himself right in front of you, it was possible to appraise him fully. As you had to do from the beginning, you looked down to see Derek's face, despite still surpassing him in height. It was clear he'd grown a lot. Hi, I've missed you. It's been way too long. Derek's back, you choked. It's been way too long. Seriously too long. It's good to see you, pal. Derek watched you so gently, his words couldn't ring anything but true. Settling his eyes on you was something he was grateful he could do. And hearing him call you by that long-time moniker really brought it home. That you were well home. The feeling's mutual.
You ready?
Nice, you ready to go? Got all your stuff? Yeah, it's only the suitcase, which way are we going? That way. Derek rubbed the back of his head as his immense cheer chipped away just a bit. Do you mind having to take a stroll? I didn't bring the car. My place is about 15-minute walk from here. Parking is wild. I would have had to park 20 minutes away just to find something outside the apartment's reserved spot. That's one thing about this place I didn't miss. He let out an airy chuckle, still awkwardly scratching at his hair. So, we're going to have to get in some steps. That's alright, it's not your fault. What a pain. It's so hot out. What a pain in the ass. It's so hot out. Uh-huh. That's why I took the bus instead of driving. Honestly, it'd be nice to move around after that bus ride. You made an okay sign with your fingers.
I got you.
I get that. Oh, but, you pressed a finger to the tip of your chin, thinking. You got here way sooner than 15 minutes. It was barely more than 5. Yeah. He attempted to shrug casually, but smirked, tugging at his mouth. It's 15 if you walk. It goes quicker if you run. Especially when you're a fast runner, like if you're a trained athlete, for example. Derek jumped in place to spread his feet apart and strike a superhero pose, like he was still a 13-year-old boy. Ah, thanks for going through the trouble. Wow, what a hug. You didn't have to do that. I hope you didn't push yourself. That sounds like you. You blushed wordlessly. Wow, what a hunk. He fed off your praise and then lifted his head even higher. Totally, right? Once again, completely carefree, Derek tilted his head over the way he came. Let's go. You reach down to collect your suitcase, only to grasp empty air. You glance towards the ground, this time seeing it rolling away securely in Derek's hand. I can carry it, Derek. Thank you for the help. Hey, get back here with that, you joked. Wait, you just sprinted here. Don't make yourself carry the bag, too. Gentleman as always, you blinked at him.
You know it.
You got it. You took his free hand. You grabbed the corner of the suitcase in his hand. You stepped up beside him. We're going to take his free hand. Derek had his plan, and you had your own. You maneuvered to the side and slipped your hand around his.
Oh.
Oh, for an instant, he flinched at the touch. He held firm as he eased into it. I see how it is. I'm pulling the bag, but you're pulling me. Yep. I can never beat you. You and Derek left the station side by side and made your way through the vast city. He pointed out a towering building against the skyline, and in the distance it was sparkling, and you knew and had to be at least 10 floors. That's where you were going. Having such an obvious landmark to work towards was convenient. You weren't familiar with that part of the city. The condos where the Swartz family used to live was further away from the station. It was certainly very different from Sunset Bird. You easily knew every corner of the town, could go from end to end on foot, but you continued along certain that you'd make it to your destination. Derek's pace wasn't too fast or too slow. He was conscious of the connection between you and wasn't going to jerk you around. What a nice man. Derek chattered lightheartedly as your thoughts were drifting along. It felt completely natural being there with him. He didn't struggle to let you into his world. There was a place he'd left open and waiting for you. Derek Swartz, his name rang in your ears. Over the years, you cherished him, and even more until you couldn't imagine life without him. Then when you saw him again, you had been hit with the realization you loved him. No, we've been too long for this. Despite how long it had been, and despite all the time you had spent apart, your feelings never wavered. You were in love with him. The jaunt through the city breezed by. There was so much to catch up on. Even though you didn't sprint, 15-minute walk still felt much closer to 5. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making. And hit subscribe, that way you can come back and see what happens next. This is like the 30th outro I'm recording today, and it's now 12 a.m. So I'm very tired, and I'm ready for bed, and I hope you guys are too. Well, this post at 9 in the morning. I hope you slept well. Anyway, I won't take up any more of your time. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.